This is the Volkswagen Tayron, and it's basically a Golf GTI with 7 seats. Well, at least this 195 TSI, but generally speaking, it is a stretched 7-seater version of the new generation Tiguan. And throughout this full detailed review, we're going to find out if it's any good. And if you are new to my channel, don't forget to like, share, subscribe and hit the bell, and let's get straight into the video. First, what is there to know before walking into a showroom? Pricing starts from $48,000, climbing up to $73,000 for this top grade 195 R-Line. And this is the type of vehicle that competes with the Skoda Kodiaq, on which this shares a platform with. And there are 3 different models of specification between Life, Style and this R-Line, and a selection of 3 powertrain options depending on which grade you pick. And moving on to options, you have a wide selection of colours to pick from depending on specification, and specific to this R-Line, one optional package which includes a sunroof. And in terms of ownership, warranty, servicing, running costs, everything you need to know is on your screen. And finally, a big thank you to Vale Volkswagen, who are located in the Southern Highlands, and they have lent me their demonstrator for this video review. And if you are in the market for a new car, I've shared their details in the description below. Let's now talk about styling. So this definitely does look bolder compared to the Tiguan, and you'll also come across a set of matrix LED headlights, which are automatic, a light strip in the middle section, and the Volkswagen logo also lights up. And comparing this to the Life and Style grades, which look a little bit more conservative, the R-Line does look a little bit more aggressive with the larger gloss black grille. And if we take a look at the side view, the R-Line gets a set of 2-tone paint combination 20-inch wheels that are wrapped in the Sport Contact 6 Conti tyres. You also get these painted extensions, power folding mirrors and an R-Line badge, privacy glass from B-pillar to the back, satin chrome roof rails, and on that top section, as you can see, this has been optioned with the large panoramic glass sunroof, which can also open and close. At the back, it certainly does look pretty similar to a Tiguan, which means you do get an LED light bar, LED rear combination lights with progressive indicators. And look at this, the Volkswagen logo also lights up in red, and on the rear bar, all versions have a black section, whereas going for this, the R design, you get a honeycomb grille effect finished off in gloss black. If you like the interior inside the new generation Tiguan, you'll love this because everything is completely identical. And on this R-Line version, you get micro suede with blue highlights, and that also extends onto the door panel. A sportier 3-spoke leather wrapped steering wheel that feels nice to grip onto, and the blue highlights on the seat trim. And this also feels just as well built like the Tiguan, with a solid door slam, soft padding up the top here, and it's also soft where you rest your elbow. And again, on the dashboard, soft and squidgy, soft over here, and a soft center console, which is also adjustable. I'm not so sure about the piano black finish and the plastic down the bottom here and on the door panel, but in the grand scheme of things, it does come across very premium. But let me know in the comments below, would you pick this over a Mazda CX-60 or Hyundai Santa Fe? Let me know your opinion. And if we talk about some of the comfort features, leather accented seats, which are perforated and very comfortable. They also include electric adjustment, a seat memory function, lumbar support, seat heating and ventilation, and a massage function which actually does work. The steering wheel also offers manual tilt and reach adjustment. You can also heat the steering wheel as well. And within this 15-inch screen, which is bigger compared to the other model grades, are your functions for the climate menu. And you've also got touch sliders for the climate panel, a volume slider, buttons for media functions, and in the center, a volume dial. And if you tap it, that'll go into the different drive modes between Eco, Comfort, Sport, Individual, and being all-wheel drive, off-road and snow. And if you go into atmospheres, this is going to change the screen lighting for both the center section and the driver's display. And there's also customizable ambient lighting with a wide array of colors to choose from. And the screen itself is pretty configurable. I've played with it a couple of times. This is the main menu, and you can also cycle between apps, car functions, parking, driver assistance, drive modes, and other key functions you want to add on. And you do also get voice recognition, which is referred to as IDA, Volkswagen's voice assistant, and along with Siri, as there is wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. And if I go into media, AM, FM, DAB, Bluetooth, USB, and this R-Line does come with a Harman Kardon sound system, which does sound pretty impressive. You also get navigation with 3D mapping, off-road screens looking at dynamics and displays, plus a hill descent control if you do go on an unsealed surface. And you can also go into vehicle, look at vehicle and status to see what is happening with the car itself. And this also comes with a 360 camera with a few different selections to pick from, including your gutter views, and you can also click on this, which will activate your parking assistant, a self-parking feature. You also get front and rear parking sensors and a front and rear cross traffic alert, and auto dimming, rear vision mirror, automatic braking, blind spot monitoring, a safe exit warning, which will alert you if an oncoming car is coming towards you. There's adaptive cruise control that keeps you within distance between yourself and the vehicle in front, a lane departure warning and a lane keeping assistant, speed sign recognition, and a driver fatigue monitoring system. The screen in front of the driver is, like I said, customizable in terms of color, but you can also change the layout to your preference, and you can also change the information you want to see depending on what is important to you. And you also get a clear head-up display on the windscreen. What about storage? The glove box is a decent size, and there's a bit of storage here for a phone and 2 wireless phone charging pads and 2 USB-C ports. Over in the center, you do have this adjustable center armrest, which is extendable, and an adjustable cup holder setup and 2 small cup holders down the bottom with a 12-volt socket. The door bins are also pretty spacious, as they can fit a large water bottle. There's some storage underneath the light switch, and over on the top section, mirrors with lighting, but unfortunately there isn't a sunglasses holder. It is an easy car to climb in and out. There's also a remote key with keyless entry and push button ignition down the bottom here. Moving on to the second row, with this seat set in my position, knee room and toe room is pretty good. Headroom is great as well. The middle section is a bit narrow, and you do also have a transmission tunnel, but for shorter people, knee room, toe room, headroom is fine. These seats can also move forwards and backwards, recline backwards and forwards. There are device holders, map pockets, air vents over in the center with a climate panel and buttons to activate the heated outboard seats. There's a manual sunshade that clips into place, grab handles, curtain hangers and LED lighting, decent door bin storage that can also hold a big water bottle, a flip down armrest over in the center with 2 pop-out cup holders and a device holder, and this can also rotate as well, and that is useful for kids watching a movie. Finally, for child seats, the 2 outboard seats are ISOFIX compatible, and right behind me, free top to the points. Here in the third row, unless if you slide this seat forwards, knee room, toe room is very tight, but headroom is pretty good, despite the fact that you cannot recline this back section. But for occasional use, small teens, kids, they'll be fine in the back here. But just keep in mind, like with most 7-seaters, there are no ISOFIX or top to the points, but you do get 2 cup holder sections on both sides, hooks, LED lighting and sections up the top here, which I don't know what they're for, but let me know in the comments if you know. All versions get an electric power boot lid, which also entails a kick sensing function. So for example, if you have your hands full, you can use your foot to open up that tailgate. And with the third row in place, it is pretty spacious. You can fit 2 carry-on suitcases back here, and the boot floor section is also flat and low down, which means loading items into the back is pretty easy. You've also got some tie-down points, a 12-volt socket, LED lighting, and some cutaway sections. And down the bottom here, some underfloor storage for the parcel tray section, and you'll also find a toolkit and a space saver spare wheel, which is getting harder and harder to find on a new vehicle. And folding down the third row is pretty easy, as you can see, and that expands boot volume to 850 litres, which is about 15 litres more compared to the all space. And there are also levers to fold down the second row seats, and they fold down almost flat. And on your screen are all the key dimensions between this and the Tiguan. Like I said before, you have a total of 3 powertrains to pick from, and the one I have here, being the R-Line, is the 195 TSI. And it's basically the same powertrain from a Golf GTI. And it's a 2-litre, 4-cylinder turbo petrol engine, which develops 195 kilowatts and 400 newton meters of torque, and it's linked to a 7-speed dual-clutch auto, Volkswagen's 4MATIC all-wheel drive, and the R-Line also gets adaptive suspension. Okay, driving impressions inside the Tayron. What is it like? Good forward visibility, good side vision, decent sized wing mirrors, and at the back rear vision is also pretty good. The camera system, however, on a lot of new Volkswagens isn't as great compared to other rivals, and if you have driven the new generation Tiguan, it is going to feel pretty similar, a little bit longer but not that much wider. It does feel like a bigger car, but it doesn't feel overwhelming. The steering is electric, and you've also got a tight turning circle, and this being the 195 R-Line, you get the progressive steering that does make this feel a little bit more dynamic. So for a 7-seater, it is pretty fun to drive, combined with the Golf GTI powertrain. What about refinement? The suspension on most Volkswagens have been set up to be soft, and this being the R-Line, you do get the adaptive dampers, which do soften the ride a little bit more, and they do a fantastic job keeping the ride quality settled. I don't think you really need the adaptive suspension, because even a standard 110 without it is pretty nice to drive, and when you do put your foot down, it does go. It isn't as responsive as a Golf GTI, but look, for a big 7-seater that is heavier, you can have some fun, and it is more of a driver's car compared to the Santa Fe. What about drive modes? If I go from comfort to sport, what is it like? Well, the gear changes feel much more responsive, and the acceleration as well feels a little bit better. Of course, this is a 7-seater, it is a little bit heavier, and the gearbox has been tuned a little bit differently compared to a Golf GTI, but at the same time, if you are stepping out of a performance car and you need a 7-seater, at least there isn't so much of a compromise on dynamics and performance, and that is where this car fits in. The 110 is also a very good powertrain, but I think the sweet spot for someone normal, a non-car enthusiast, would be a 150 in the elegance. Driver assistance works okay if I set the adaptive cruise control, the lane centering. They've brought back the physical buttons, which does help. That is keeping me within lane and behind the vehicle. And the best part about the driving aids, there are no beeps and bongs like what you do get in a Santa Fe. Finally, in terms of fuel consumption, Volkswagen says that this 195 TSI will average 8.6 litres per 100 on the combined cycle. I got 10.6 on my short drive, and I think on the freeway you can get that figured down. Don't forget, this is the high performance version, and that is why I think the 150 or at least the 110 are both very good options if you're not so focused on performance. But for this type of vehicle with this powertrain, I'm pretty happy with that result, but let me know what you think in the comments below. And with driving impressions out of the way, let's finish off with a verdict. So then, a conclusion on the Volkswagen Tayron. Yes, it is getting up there in terms of price, especially if you move up to this R-Line, but it is much more luxurious and spacious compared to the previous Allspace. But tell me, would you choose this over a Santa Fe or a Mazda CX-60? Write down your opinion in the comments below, and if you haven't already, don't forget to like, share, subscribe and hit the bell, and let me know if you want me to feature anything specific, but I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.